Watch yourself. Show me how you're working now. Watch yourself. Maybe not the best appropriate choices of song. Okay, but good morning, guys. Today's topic apparently is about how to watch it. That's not really a watch, it's my Jesus bangle braces thing, but it's still kind of cool. And Jesus is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, and obviously time is in his hands. So here we go. Today's message. So I haven't watched all these lovely videos which are coming up yet, but apparently the topic or the topical topic is about time. And yeah, about time, some people get more. Is it about time, literal in terms of watches, about getting expensive, luxurious watches, not just watches, if you know what I mean, but different privileges or different watches or items or things or worldly treasures that you can get blessed with on your journey of life. So yeah, I recently put up a video, I think, from one of my favorite movies growing up was I like The Family Man, and it's got this like really nice, cute blonde, like you know, just this lovely lady. I know she's like wholesome, looks after her husband, and she cares about the kids and the family. She's wholesome, she's funny, she's kind. She's like I guess the Bible would encapsulate what a good woman. I guess it kind of feels like that. She cares about God, looks after the house, the kids, the family, stuff like that. I think that's he who finds a good wife finds a good thing. Um, and yeah, and there's like the scene where kind of like the husband or the guy maybe forgets the anniversary and is like, oh, I'm really sorry, and wants to try and make it better, and and they go through like trials and difficulties through life. So yeah, it's not the literal presents aren't really the riches. I think if you've got somebody who has a good mind, a good heart, has values, and sometimes obviously it helps with some people when you've got assets to do life with in this world where everybody seems to be taking up space and where you're kind of positioned and located will have such a not always a detrimental or sometimes a positive effect into your life and your memories and kind of your earthly memories and experiences that you might have. Um, so I have a watch kind of just reminded me I wanted to share with you a watch testimony that I have. And it might be slightly different, but hopefully it's in sync or outside of sync or whatever. It's topical with having a watch, and I actually think it might bring some value to the conversation. I hope so. Anyway, hope I'm just yeah. I hope something about me is liked or included or valued or yeah. So at the moment, talking about the riches and stuff like that and who's buying stuff. So yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because some people are born, or maybe you can call them the people that are born into freedom. They're blessed, they're born free with an understanding, with not just with land, but maybe they're born into a wholesome environment. They've got mum, dad, the land, the house. They understand, they've got the television, understand how it works. They can go to their games, watch the football. That maybe there's a bit more to football than football. Um, they can understand, they're born in that freedom. But some of these people, they might be considered as the righteous or the chosen ones. And some of these people, I got to grow up with as well. Um, it doesn't mean that they're like completely sinless. When I grew up, although it was nice to have some people in my life for once, taught me how to still, how to smoke, do certain things that I shouldn't be doing, and because they were aware that they could do a certain allowance of sin, but they have to stay within that perimeter, and then they could still have their blessings, but they've got an allowance of certain wrongdoing they can do, but they shouldn't go over this area. Whereas if you're born completely blind, you're just oblivious to all of it, and you're at the mercy of wherever you kind of get landed or wherever you're surrounded with. So there's this topic at the moment about who's getting what and who doesn't have, and so those who have are born with, those who have obviously have more greater opportunity, whereas though if you're born outside of that, you're born oppressed and you don't have so much opportunity because all those opportunities are being seized by those who have. So if you've got one tribe that are obviously born free, they've got the land, so they've got the mum and the dad, they've grown up, they've got the land, and that child has been loved. They've had some good soil um, in their identity. So, they've got confidence, hopefully, compassion, kindness. They know how to have social skills and talk and engage with people. And they haven't, they've got all this, they're like a fresh pair of shoes, ready to be enjoyed. Whereas some people, you grow up and you kind of get, beaten, abused, whatever like that, and you end up being like a used pair of shoes. So when you go to meet another person, it's like how you're able to present yourself to them. So yeah, so then you've got that person, and they've maybe own like, I don't know, let's say 1 acre of land. So you've got mum, dad, got the wholesome environment. They've got 1 acre of land, and they're born free. And then you've got another person, they're born free, and they've got 1 acre of land. And they're like, yeah, we'll let us, our children will grow up, and they're obviously going to want to fall in love and, have experiences and memories and have land. They're going to need this stuff. So they're going to obviously, through making a choice, they're like, right, well, they've got land as well. They'll also be from. So our children with their children, they'll grow up, and then we'll become a family, and then we'll look after each other. And now we've doubled our land, and we've doubled our territory. We've taken up space. Now we can create businesses. And now we can create businesses, we can create jobs. And then if you're born outside of that, obviously you want to have a job because you need to be able to support yourself and be able to have a way of living. So you accept that job. And that, as a kind of a way, you then become their servant because they've owned the land, they own the business. That means they control your wages. And then you get an allowance of those wages. And then they obviously take all the cream of the stuff off so they can use that money to have their dreams and do the stuff like that. But then they need to charge you for that. So there'll be taxes. So they'll provide you for that job so you can get a way of living to support yourself. But also you've gone into servanthood. So you're working the whole day in that business, but that business is then set up to generate money, but also to provide you a job. But then you're sustaining that job. And then those taxes will basically just pay off a lot of all your bills anyway. So they built you a house where you can stay. So you have to pay the rent for the house, then you pay the rent for the electric that they're providing, which you've kind of been constructed, and then you pay, and then you're just kind of like left with enough, a little bit of money in your pocket, and your time's being used basically to try and survive. And by the time you got that, you come home. But if you're born outside of that, you've set up those stuff so you can basically generate. Once you've built the house and the people are in it, then those people work and they pay off that, and you can collect your profits, and you can enjoy your life whilst they're in that system. You're outside of the system because you've built the system, and but that system has provided a way of living for them to survive. So they've got basic needs like gas, electric, a fridge, and stuff. But then they're left, if you're in that tribe, that's the only people that you're really going to associate with, or who you're going to be able to, if you're a single guy or a single female, who you're going to be able to mate with. So then your options of who you can interact with is you're only going to be, so if you want to have like happy memories, you maybe want to have sex, you want to get married, you want to have children, you want to go on holidays, have these kind of memories with your one life on earth. And so you can only select from another slave girl who's who's stuck also in the system. So therefore, do you really want to get married to your wife who's going to be kind of under the servanthood of her boss and an employment system who's going to maybe draw her away, put her in different locations? She might end up getting, the system, we live in a fallen world, might end up trying to put her in a scenario where there's another good looking guy. So she could be being tempted, and that could have an effect where then, because she wants to work, she doesn't want to stay at home. You need to earn the money, and then she ends up having an affair, and then you got all these horrible memories that come along with that. I know somebody that had had everything really, and they went into work and then met another anyway, and the whole marriage just broke down. They separated everything. So yeah, but if you're born outside of the system, you've got your land. You can select from, all they're nice. I've seen their Facebook profile, or I've seen this whatever, and you can make a certain areas situation where you can introduce and hang out together, no pressure, and if you like each other, and then there's lots to choose from for those who have. So those who have basically keep on doubling their land, and it's like you got the oppressor and the oppressed, and it's like kind of like it's either us or them mentality. Although Jesus tells us to think of others as higher than ourselves. But within that tribe, obviously, you're going to be all right, because if you're born into that, your options are you're not born as a slave into the system. So you're going to maybe want to, or your choices are, well, you don't really want to marry or get together with somebody who's in the system of slavery, because then that's going to have an effect on you, and they haven't got that much land to offer, or so but then you've got an option where you can choose somebody else who's free and they've got a bit of land, and they've got so you can mate with them and they'll double up on their land, they'll have more children. So this kind of group of people are just expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, and then oppressing the junk mail, the tax, the bills on this group of people, and they're trying to survive, and then just like robbing people of, I guess of options, isn't it? And now it doesn't mean that this group of people don't need forgiveness and don't have sins and don't, like I say, I met people, taught me how to drink, steal, some of them like just worse than some of the people in the other group, but they are like apparently the chosen ones or the righteous ones, but that righteousness, however, can be had through Jesus and Jesus alone. But then you've got another group of people, and maybe you're born into more humble beginnings or dysfunctional settings, and it's really hard to do life because you're subject to the system. Like I say, so you need to find a job, then they'll charge you, will pay you an hourly wage, but then that hourly wage, we want to take it back to contribute to this, to whatever, and that will have to pay to support our lives and tax you on that. So yeah, I think that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So yeah, so do you have free will and do you have free choice? Like the soul, well, if you struggle with the flesh, just get married. Well, I think most people want to get married because they love someone, right? Not just because they want to have fleshly desires. And and options are, you generally would like to be, as a man, someone who can protect your wife, can make sure that she's treated well, that she hasn't got another guy or someone else that she's having to submit herself to. So that's why I think some just say it's not just I think, check it out, Spencer Smith, he just did a really amazing video. I think it was kind of cool, about this girl kind of turns up and she talks about how feminism and how that the attack on masculinity is really good. Like what this girl says on it, I don't know where he got the clip from, but I'll try and put it on the playlist. But she said it like really well. Like anyway, so yeah, as a guy, you don't want obviously your girl to be under, interacting with a variety of different men. Obviously, we know what men are like, like for example, if a girl gets a YouTube channel, she's probably going to get 100 clicks, whereas you as a guy might get 10 clicks. We know that we're obviously, women will get more attention if she went out to find a guy. She'd probably have 10 people approach her, whereas if you went out as a single guy, you're the one that's doing the chasing. So we know that men and women get treated differently. So yeah, so we know that obviously, put a woman in a room, obviously it changes the atmosphere. Men are going to try. So, and if you're a guy and you're with a female partner, you don't really want your wife to be subject to that, because then that's just putting temptation and stuff, whatever, on that scenario. Yeah, so where are we going with this? So how can you, if you're born in that situation, so if you struggle with lust, you can get married, but you can't really get married because what are your options? If you've been left in a people group, so even as a Christian sometimes, and I'm just learning this, like you can go to a church and you're like literally quite naive to it, just like, hey, I love Jesus, I'm a Christian, I want to share my faith and love with others and worship Jesus together. But actually, you don't really realize it, but there's also people groups within that. So there could be people that have been going to that church for years and they've got friends and they're friends with that friend. And if that friend takes a disliking to you, like, hey, do you know like guy likes bad whatever, and they tell that person, they're like, yeah, let's stay, and they should kind of shuffle over that. And then the pastor's like, oh, I can tell by their body language they're not really comfortable around that guy. Then you're kind of like, they'll find ways to usher you into like a different people group, and before you know it, you can be found like you're left with like certain other types of people that they haven't really taken a liking to. That's like, whew, that's better. And then you've gone there to like meet new people and maybe interact with a variety of different types of people. But then before you left, they've kind of put people grouped you into with other, I don't know, maybe people with addictions or homelessness people or other people in that kind of I don't know scenarios. You'll get certain politeness, but you'll find anyway. So then you've got different people groups. And then without even realizing it, you're like, wow, really? Like that's where you like, I kind of can get to free from like, to be around wholesomeness and healthiness and stuff that's good. So yeah, where you can find yourself, what and who you're left with. So if you're left, how to thrive when those who have, they've mated, they've found a good partner, people with land, you might be born in like with no mum and dad, Although you might have relatives, like, I think there's a difference between having relatives and mums and dads. Like some parents can treat their children awful, and just pray for them that they come to know Jesus. And some children as well, they're not fantastic either. But anyway, the point is that yeah, some people, so you might be born as an orphan, and a guy who used to go to church as well. He was born and made an orphan, maybe because they couldn't afford to keep the baby or not, I don't know. And then his options are he can only choose on his journey in life of what's left available. Other people that may be damaged or gone through hurtful scenarios or whatever, or difficulties because they were also born into whatever. But those who have it's hard, right? And so, like for me, growing up, I've got a lot of stories actually. I'm thinking about maybe writing a book. What do you think? If you're seeing this, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. Got to find a way. Hopefully, just another way of evangelizing, and also might be a way of generating extra income. Not doing it just for the money, but hopefully might touch somebody's heart, and maybe some stories they might be able to relate to about some different life experiences that we get to go through as people. Some can be horrible and awful and very challenging. Some people, they don't really get a life. They get an existence. Then you realize you never really actually got a life. You got an existence, but you didn't get a life. Whereas some people get a life, they get an existence, but they get such a wonderful life with it. Like, so, they get, maybe you didn't get the graduation, you didn't get to go to the college, you didn't have any friends at school, you were always bullied and isolated, or then maybe you got to go home and then you live in a very bad area, so you'd get like beaten up on the way home, or bullied or followed or robbed. And then you didn't get to go to the university, or you didn't go, like when the other kids were having like I think it was a prom date as well. I think when the kids were growing up, they get to like mum, dad would order the limousine. They get to choose a date girl, and then take the photos and the picture, and you get to choose a girl, and then go do the prom and stuff like that. Or applying to university and doing the studying together. I mean, yeah, no prom, no graduation, no circle of friends, no like. I mean, you just think, how can you be grateful? Like, if you like, some people might say, like, my life hasn't been fantastically easy either. I don't think life is here on planet Earth in this realm. It's a contaminated planet. But they're like, how can you, like, with some of the things that you've gone through, Shane, how can you love, like, why do you just like try to forgive people and love God? Because God is always good, right? They're like, yeah, a little bit of your upbringing's kind of been struggling, very difficult scenarios, situations, and the goodness of God, for me, the goodness of God is not determined by the experiences I've had in life. I mean, sure, like, yeah, maybe the prom, the graduation, the going to college, being a nice girl, having families, having friends, some of that stuff would be amazing. But maybe like my life isn't meant to be contributed to existence in this time around, whatever. Because there'll be a new heavens and a new earth. And maybe, it's about what we can offer God, not just about what we can get. So I'll tell you about one. Yeah, so just remember this: God is not determined by the experiences and things we can get in this life. Even Jesus says, "Whoever's left homes and families and friends, whatever, will receive 100 times more in heaven." And heaven, apparently, not apparently, it's better than this place. But it is hard though when people do group you together and then you're expected to thrive and survive, but they're like secretly, like, like some people like have remote controls that can control your television from a distance. They'll cause it to go off, and then you have an argument with somebody who's already argumentative, and you've spoken with your morning's been left with, I want to have a good day, Lord. And then you're waking up with someone you've been placed with, they're really difficult to get along with. Maybe that just there's a lot of different types of abuse: mental, intellectual, physical, sexual, emotional, and then they'll group. And so that can have such an effect on your life. If you don't know how to defend yourself, you're just like, wow, man, you can pick up some really bad character habits. So we thank you, Lord, that we have Jesus, that he comes to, he restores us and helps us to guide us. But even when you're a Christian, you can meet other Christians who and also, like I say, you're not aware that they also are aware of like this grouping and tribal kind of thing of, right, they're there with this person, they've got that, do they own land, do they have stuff, I didn't know it could all be so complicated, like ticking off, like, yeah, desirable list. Some people are like, oh, I check where they live before I go out on them to see if they got like whatever. And It's like, wow, I was just like oblivious to all this. I'm just like, yeah, do. Just, so yeah, what you can select from. So I think it's that predetermined menu. So some people are born with a menu where it's like, right, here you go, you've got free will. What, a certain allowance of? Do you have free will? You can choose from the McDonald's menu, but that's your menu in life. You can choose from McDonald's, but you can choose a double cheeseburger, a McFlurry, or whatever. You get an allowance of it. But some people are born with a menu that says you can make menus, and they can. That's it. They're born out of it, and people outside that, like, wow. So, and they can duplicate that provision and that place, and more healthy. You're going to generate more healthy lives. You've got prosperity. You've got more land. You've got more options. You're not going to be subject. You're going to eat healthier because you've got money. You've got finances. You can keep yourself away from kind of like the undesirables. With like the bad language, bad behavior, the people that are going to beat you up and physically just abuse your identity internally and externally on with your body. And then you can then generate put in certain measures and have policing around and stuff, so you can systems. So it's hard, right? So yeah, you get different options for different people. I think you get different and how to share those options. It's going to be hard, isn't it? Because ideally, like I say, if I wanted to be with a partner, would I want to do I have the free will to have a wife and a home and some land? What are the surroundings like? Or what options have you got available? I'd be left with like on the street where you've got, yeah, I don't know, people with different, maybe bad, yeah, whatever, and they're your options. It's like, well, I can't really select from that because that's not my people group, and you're left with like, well, what can I choose from? What is left for me to choose from? So hard. So the watch story. Yeah. So apparently this pastor's asking for like a really expensive watch, right, or a pastor watch. So here's my watch story. When I was growing up, I sometimes had to go through. It was a bit of a bad area to get home, and the people that kind of tries there, they were very kind of like a violent people, bad language, just awful, quite demonic, I would say. Is it spiritual warfare and stuff like that? Anyway, so when I was going home, and I didn't really have many friends anyway, growing up either, I was quite isolated. And, when I did go to school, it was always, either put into isolation, not allowed to be friends with anyone, or then I go home and it was quite how to say, dysfunctional or maybe argumentative setting. So it's always hard to find some peace anyway. It's like you couldn't escape. And then if you go outside, all you're left with is kind of the people that are left outside, and that wasn't very particularly wholesome or that either. So you had nowhere to go, really, nowhere. Because a home is a place, where you can find peace and refuge and love, right? And if you haven't got that, then you have to go out into the world, and you're not always going to find that out there either. Sometimes you're going to find more trouble. So this place, walking home from school one time, this is just one of those stories, and it's my watch story. And I was walking home, and there used to be this kid, and I must have been about maybe 13, 12, 13, 14, something like that. I was going to school. It was a while ago, and this guy he would stop me like from getting from there to get to this other house. I mean, I think it was a point where I was being made homeless as a kid, and I was maybe being presented to go with an adopted family or to stay with other people. So it was like a temporary home that I was being going to, and well, they were like changing houses and stuff. Anyways, so going through, and there was this guy, and he'd always stand there, but he was like so intimidating, and he like used to make me wait, and I couldn't pass him, and he would make me stand there. I think he was like 2 or 3 years older, and he would make me stand there, and he would throw like an axe and try and make it land near my feet. That was his game. And you'd think if he was in your right mind, why didn't you just walk off? But I was like alone. He like got me by myself, and I wasn't allowed to move. I wasn't allowed to leave. And he's like a guy with like a big axe and like sharp weapons and stuff. So I was just scared to run away because otherwise he'd like grab me and push me and whatever. So I was by myself. So anyway, I'd get bullied by this guy. So sometimes he'd punch me, beat me up, and just whatever. So I had like a lot of intimidation. Really scary guy. And so I would try and walk. And he knew that it was the only route I could go to get back after school to that place. So I had no choices. It was horrible. So one time, obviously, we went back, and I'd made like a kind of it wasn't really friends, but the house was free, and so some of the kids who wanted to like smoke and hang out afterwards came back to this place where there wouldn't be nobody there. And on this way, one of the boys, let's say his name is Dan, and he kind of came back and he looked really sad. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, you know that guy, da, 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 da. I don't want to say his name. We're just, he's taken my watch. I was like, oh. And I was like, well, it's only a watch, don't worry about it. But like he looked really, really like devastated. Like I could feel it. It's really hard to describe. Like he just looked so sad. And I'm just like, well, it's only a watch. And he's like, yeah, but he said that his mum gave it to him. His grandma. And he says like his grandma had given him this watch, and it wasn't an expensive watch. It was just, or maybe it was to him, in comparison to what he had in his, well, maybe like a 50 quid watch was expensive in comparison to somebody who has loads of money. That's just a bit of pocket money, whatever. But to him, that was like a lot. But it wasn't just that. It was from his grandma who had given him this watch, and he didn't really have many family members either. So that was only kind of like his mum had left him kind of to be raised by his grandparents, and his dad was like a drug dealer, and he wasn't really much around. And so and so that watch was all he had as a birthday present from his grandma, and he was so devastated because it was so sentimental to him. And when I heard that, when I just felt like I just felt righteous anger. I was just like, grr. So I just like oh, okay. I was like, oh, don't have a sit down, get yourself a coffee or something, whatever. And I was like, right, what do I do, Shane? Come on, I've got to do something. I mean, I just felt for the guy. I can't explain it. So I was like, right, Shane, breathe, just don't think about it too much, just do it. And I just go like Nike, just do it. And so I went out and I marched back through the back alleyways. Like this is like, so it's not even around people. So if anything's happened, like this is where he would make me waiting through knives to like land around me and stuff. It was horrible. I'm just like, right, just tell him that you want it back, or you'll call the police or something. I don't know. And I kind of like basically walked through, and I was just like this little nerdy kid, and I was just like, my friend needs his watch back. Otherwise, they said they're going to call the police. I need it back. And whatever. And anyway, I ended up. I mean, for me, that was just like facing Goliath. I mean, this is like years and years of abuse. I would be afraid to I'd just freeze up. And so, yeah. But basically, I got the watch back. Right. I was just like, he gave me the watch, and I was like, don't look for it. Just turn around, take the watch, just keep walking. And I got around the corner. I was just like, run. And then I was just like, I run, like, kind of go back. And I was just like, yes, victory, we have victory. And I gave him, I went and saw my friend, and they were all about to leave anyway. And I came to my friend Dan, and I was like, hey, Dan. He's like, what? It is still like devastated. And I was like, I opened up my hand, I was like, what do you think is in my hand? He's like, I don't know. I was like, look. And then I had this watch. This is his watch. And I almost felt heartbroken when he looked at me. He was like, and he didn't look very happy. And I was like, what? Aren't you happy? He's like, that's my watch. I was like, yeah. And he said to me, what do you want for it? I mean, and I replied to him, I said, what do you mean, what do I want for it? I got it for you. I don't want anything for it. There you go. And that really touched me. He's like, what do I want from it? Like, how much do I want for it? Like, he had to buy it back for me, or that he needed to give me something back for his own watch that I had got for him. I mean, I was just like, that even got me even as well. So that was my little story of being a hero for the moment, of facing your fears. And that was my kind of watch story. So, yeah, hopefully I've got a lot more stories, but anyway, hopefully that blesses you and you'll have an amazing day. God bless you. Love you lots, and diddly bob. Poof.